Actividades de Athens. Welcome. I've been practicing that for 3 days now, so hopefully people understand. Welcome, and thank you so much to everyone who has made it here to Athens. It's really great to see so many faces here that I've seen as an icon on Skype or a name that I've known by email. And it's a real pleasure to have everyone together, well, all of to make it here in one room. And thank you for making the journey. Athens?
Well, hi from me as well. It's great to see everybody here. Met a few people, but most of the people we haven't met yet. So let's make this a great meeting, yeah? Nice one.
So I'd like to start by introducing the organising committee, because although it's us standing up here taking the credit, it's actually been a team of people who have put this together throughout the last, not just weeks, months, but also it's about a year that we started planning this event. So we'd like to first of all to say thank you to the organising committee and introduce them to you so you know who to ask during the week if you have any questions about anything. So first of all, Jane, you're sitting right in front of me here. So would you like to just come up to the stage so everyone can see who you are, those who don't know? Jessica? Or you can just stand up, yeah.
Hi guys, I'm actually really funny.
Hi. Everybody else at the back. Hi. And then have we missed anyone? Have we forgotten anyone? Yes, Luis. Luis, where are you?
Hello everybody!
Okay. And we also have a team, a dedicated team here at the NTUA. We've got Tomas, Nasos, and Panos is also here somewhere. Where are you, Panos? Where's he gone? Oh, he was here.
He was here.
So if you have any questions about the NTUA specifically, please ask Tomas, Nasos, or Kostas. So I wanted to start today by reminding us a bit why we're here. Talking about why should we electrify rural areas, and why should we do it with small wind turbines, before then coming on to what is the Wind Empowerment Association. So there are 1.4 billion people in the world today. Maybe that number varies a little bit depending on who classify it, how you classify it, who's done the study, but there are a lot of people in the world today who don't have access to electricity. And 85% of those people are living in rural areas. So this graph up here shows quality of life measured by Human Development Index against electricity consumption measured in kilowatt hours per person per year. So although this doesn't show cause and effect, it does clearly show a correlation between the amount of electricity people have access to and their quality of life. So you've got countries such as Niger, Zambia and Pakistan down here with much lower qualities of living and much lower electricity consumption in countries such as the US, Norway and Japan. What it also shows is that after a certain point, around 4,000 kilowatt hours per person per year, quality of life kind of levels out. Using more electricity doesn't make that much difference to quality of life. But what we can also see here is that it's the first few kilowatt hours of electricity that really make a difference. So providing electricity for the first time in places that don't have access to it, or are paying a lot of money for expensive diesel or petrol generation, can really make a difference to people's quality of life. So this is the situation for many of these 1.4 billion people living without access to electricity, because when the sun goes down, you still want to see. And the easiest way to make light is by burning things. But burning things is dangerous, having an open flame. It's inefficient, and it's also expensive per unit of light output. But it's the lowest, it has the lowest initial cost, which is why it's so widespread around the world. But electricity is also, it's useful for more than just light. It's the most versatile energy vector. With electricity you can easily make heat and you can make mechanical power as well as light. So assuming we want to provide electricity, we want to do these things, we want to be productive as well as just improving quality of life in the evenings with light, then how are we going to provide the electricity? Well, we could extend the grid. Well, that's fine. If you're here in a city like Athens and the nearest building is just a few meters away, no problem, great solution. But what about if you're in the middle of the desert in Palestine and the nearest place that you could extend the grid to is many, many kilometres away. Are you going to pay for this huge long transmission line for a very isolated settlement with a very low energy demand? It's simply not economic for electricity generation companies to do this. So we need distributed solutions where we can generate locally and provide electricity where it's going to be used. And this is the most common solution, a diesel or petrol generator set, which allows you to pour fuel in the top and electricity comes out the bottom. But I think we all know what the problems with these are. You've got, not only do you have to get the fuel there, you have to pay for it, and the price of fuel is going up and up. The more remote location you are, the more arduous it is to take it there. And of course there's the environmental consequences as well, what we're doing to the global climate. And using diesel generators for a 24-hour-a-day operation is going to cost so much that it's simply unaffordable for most people. Diesel generators have very low part load efficiencies, so operating a big generator like that, or a relatively big generator like that for a single light bulb is so inefficient that it's not even worth discussing. So I'm going to move on to the next slide. There's other options. We don't have to stick with diesel or petrol generators. There are renewable resources available all around the world today. The most common of which are the wind, the sun, and flowing rivers. And as you can see from these maps, they're distributed differently around the world. Some places are sunny, some places are windy, some places have mountains and rain, and some places even have all three. So why are we interested in small wind? Well, on a good site, it can provide a more economic solution in terms of unit cost of electricity, dollars per kilowatt hour, euros per kilowatt hour, or whatever you want, whatever currency you would like to use. This graph here shows power generation capacity. So you've got here a centralised system, a grid, a coal-fired power plant. Over here you've got isolated systems. So you've got a solar home system here, and probably about a 800 watt wind, solar and hydro. And you've got the levelised generating cost here of dollars per kilowatt hour, the same as the price that you pay on your electricity bill in the city. So what we can see from this is that fossil fuels, although they are cost effective at large scales, once you use a smaller and smaller system, they become less and less cost effective. And renewables are already more economic at small scales. The most economic is hydro. So if you've got a hydro resource, of course you want to take advantage of it. However, if you're not lucky enough to have a stream running beside you, then you'll have to look for wind or solar. So these prices are a little bit out of date now. So the price for PV has fallen a lot in the last 4 or 5 years, and it's going to continue to fall. However, there are other reasons to use wind, not solely economic. Having diversity in power generation sources. You can see here, this is a plot from Homer, which shows you months of the year and hours of the day up here. So every night, obviously the sun goes down, you've got no generation at all. Wind is a bit crazier, you never know when it's going to come, but it's going to give you more. There's a very low chance that you'll have a cloudy and a calm day at the same time, whereas having a cloudy day or a calm day has a reasonable probability. So having these two sources to fill your batteries with makes your system more resilient. Places like Scotland, they're also lucky enough to have the two resources available in opposite seasons. So in Scotland you have a sunny summer and a windy winter. So having a wind and solar hybrid is a great combination. But there's also another reason why to go for wind, and that is because you can manufacture locally. You don't have to import from abroad. With solar panels, they have to be made in a high-tech factory, which means that you have to send money overseas, and that money could be better spent feeding back into the local economy. By manufacturing locally, you also build capacity to install and to maintain these machines, and you have a much shorter supply chain. If you need a spare part, then you can buy it locally rather than having to order it from China or another country on the other side of the world. So, I asked this question to Hugh Bigger, a gentleman that some of you might possibly have heard of, and because small wind is quite a controversial technology in the world of rural electrification, solar is very well established, as is microhydro. However, small wind is a newer technology, it's more experimental. So when I asked Hugh, is small wind working for rural development, he said, No, it's currently not. In his opinion, and looking at all of the projects that he was familiar with, many of the people he knew were having problems with the technology. But he said it could do in the right context. He said it needs to be well supported and marketed and understood at a local level. The big challenges are, what happened there? That's a shame. Well, that one works. Okay, so this is a picture of some guys in Nicaragua fixing a wind turbine. Maintenance is a big challenge because wind turbines by design are put on top of tall towers and exposed to the full force of the weather. So something's going to break. It's not a question of is something going to break, it's more a question of when it's going to break and how to fix it when it does. Also, the resource is highly variable. It's very unpredictable in both space and time. This is a wind map of Peru here. You can see in the Amazon region, there's almost no wind at all. Whereas in the northern Andes and on the southern coast, you've got good wind speeds, some of the world-class wind speeds. So if you zoom in on this province here, which is Cajamarca, you can see that the variation, the spatial variation in the wind resource is even greater than you can see at this map here. And when you zoom in even further at a single community, then you can see that actually what looks like a place with constant wind resource actually still has a huge variation within it. And if you were to zoom in even further, you would see next to each house and each tree and each other obstruction there would be even more local variation in wind resource. And why is this important? Well, it's even more important than with solar, because with solar, power generation is linearly proportional to the resource, but with wind, it's proportional to the cube, which means on a good wind site, you get a much higher energy yield or power generation, but on a bad wind site, you get almost nothing. So it's really important to know what your resource is. However, there are successful examples at a large scale. So in Inner Mongolia, there are currently over 100,000 small wind turbines providing power to remote herdsmen. As you can see, it's pretty much the ideal place for small wind turbines because you've got flat, open grasslands for miles around. So you know that if your neighbour has a small wind turbine and they're able to watch a few hours of TV, have a few lights, and listen to the radio for a few hours each night, you're probably going to be able to do the same. You don't need to do a resource assessment. As long as you put your wind turbine on the side of your house that has the predominant wind direction, then you should be fine. Another reason why it's been so successful is because the government, over the course of 20 years, established and supported a maintenance network that allowed people to get access to the maintenance services they need to continue to operate and maintain these wind turbines locally without having to travel to the nearest city. They could get access to the technical knowledge, the tools, and the spare parts that they needed in their local area. So another example of where the technology is operating sustainably is in Skåre in Scotland. So I'm not going to talk too much about this because we do have a very distinguished speaker coming right after me. But I would like to mention that for over 30 years, small wind power has been providing electricity for the members of the community of Skåre in the northwest coast of Scotland. Which again, you can see here, this is what the wind does to the trees in Skåre. And one of the main reasons why it works so well, which is perhaps what is not going to be mentioned in the future in the next talk, because Hugh himself is so modest, but it works because he's there, and because he is committed to the technology. He knows how the wind works. He studies it with anemometers, wind vanes, and other instruments, and he is committed to not just installing systems, but going back, maintaining and evolving those systems so that they continue to meet the needs of his fellow community members. So he has the technical ability and he has the motivation to make the technology work. So what is wind empowerment? Well, wind empowerment is an association of organisations from around the world who are working on small wind, locally manufactured small wind turbines for sustainable rural electrification. This is just a few of our members. We probably have even more sitting here today. The idea with wind empowerment is that by sharing our knowledge, we many of us are facing the same problems in different parts of the world, and by sharing our knowledge, someone else has probably found a solution to many of the problems that we're facing, but the problem is that they live on the opposite side of the world. So Wind Empowerment aims to bridge the geographical gap between our members and share solutions that work. What have we achieved so far? Well, this is a prime example of what Wind Empowerment does. Renewable Energy Innovation has designed a remote logger to measure data from any kind of source for any kind of project. The University of Sheffield wanted to do a research project where they were measuring how much power was produced by small wind turbines that they were studying and how much wind resource there is. So BP Power and Renewable Energy Innovation collaborated to produce a logger, an open source logger for these projects. We installed one at the National Parks Authority in Argentina. We installed another one with Engineers Without Borders Argentina. And we will soon install another one with WEAthens2014 to measure the turbines that they are industrialising that you'll hear about this afternoon. So together we've been able to pool our collective resources and build something much better than any of us could have done alone. We have over 39 member organisations currently, hopefully some more soon. In 25 countries, we have over 1,000 individuals who are interested and are participating in the organisation. We have an online platform which has recently been developed. I'm not going to dwell on this because we have an entire workshop on Thursday to take you all through not just how you can use the website, but how you can contribute to it, how you can build this collective resource. And we've been putting on global conferences. So Fidel and Yale Senegal organised the first conference in Dakar in 2011. And I'm really pleased that we've managed to all get together again for the second Wind Empowerment Global Conference here in Athens. We've run training courses together. So this is a collaborative project that we did together under the umbrella of Wind Empowerment. Started in Ethiopia last December, and we'll be continuing this year. Where we run a workshop at Harbour Minch University, and hopefully this will be the first of many collaborative training courses that members of Wind Empowerment from around the world can get together and run as a team. We also offer consultancy. So we're in the process of finishing our first piece of consultancy, which is a market assessment for small wind turbines in Ethiopia to establish, we know that small wind is a neat technology, it doesn't work everywhere, and we really need to find out whether it is an appropriate technology for a new country before we want to start putting a lot of effort into running training courses and really trying to push the technology in a new place. So why are we all here? Each one of you has been selected because you have something useful that we think you should share with the Wind Empowerment community. We think that each one of you has the potential to improve the quality of life of many more people in the countries that you come from when you go back home at the end of this week. We have a team of passionate volunteers here who have put a lot of effort into making this event what it is, to getting ready for today. And these people really believe in the knowledge that you will gain here and the connections that you will make during this week. And this will enable you to make small wind turbines a more viable solution for providing electricity in remote areas. We want to empower you to learn more about small wind turbines for rural electrification, to connect with people on the other side of the world. We have people here from Argentina, from Peru, from Brazil, from Senegal, from Luxembourg, from Germany, from France, from Nepal, from the UK, Austria, Belgium, Palestine, and many more. And of course, Greece. So I'd like to play a little game. I'd like to find out how far everyone has come and how much effort each person has put in to be here today. So I'd like to ask you all to stand up, please. And don't worry, there is a prize, so it is worth playing. This is hot off the press, a fresh edition of Engineers Without Borders UK's first book, The Energy Volume. which has been recently published by Matt Little, myself, and a number of other collaborators in the UK. So this can be yours if you have travelled the furthest to be here. So the way that we're going to judge it is by time, because distance, who knows how far. So please remain standing if you have travelled for more than 1 hour to be here.
Okay, this is
Please remain standing if you travel for more than 3 hours to be here.
3 hours from the
More than 5 hours. More than 10 hours. More than 20 hours. Who has travelled for more than 30 hours to be here today? More than 40 hours. Forty, 50 hours. Who's travelled more than 50 hours? Does it count as driving or not? So who travelled the furthest to get to the car that took you here?
You shouldn't count the time.
No.
You get the
From your door to this door. Which one is the furthest?
Yes. You, Brest is the furthest away.
Okay. The point I wanted to make is that every one of you has made so much effort to be here. So this conference will be what you make of it. I really want to encourage you to go out and speak to other people that have come here today to speak to you and find out what you can learn from them and how you can work together in the future. So many of you will already have seen this map. This is the same one that's on the website, but this is the NTUA campus. We're on to a bit of housekeeping now, I'm afraid. We are here, the library. The metro station is up here. This is Katihaki. And these are the 3 buildings that we're going to be working in this week. The library, where we'll be doing all of the presentations. This is the cafeteria, where you'll be eating this week. So today, we had breakfast provided here today because we didn't want to complicate things. But all the other days we'll be eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner in the cafeteria. So, Kostas, what is the arrangement for lunch?
What do you mean?
Are we ticking people off the list?
We will find out when we go.
Okay. So basically, Wind Empowerment is paying for lunch and dinner and breakfast in the cafeteria, but we need to sort out what the system for that will be. So when we all go over there together, please don't pay for the lunch. Just make sure that you are in the queue behind us, and we will have a list, or we will have negotiated some way that we will pay you. But please don't pay for lunch in the cafeteria. This one here is the fluids lab. So you probably won't need to go there by yourself, but on Thursday we have some laboratory demonstrations, and we will take you over to this building. It's only really the library and the cafeteria that you'll need to go in between. So that's just out here, turn left, up the steps, and continue that way around 3 minutes. Very easy. Ooh, I don't have the timetable. Does anyone have a copy of the timetable with me? I see one there. I'm going to take this one. Who printed out a timetable before coming here? A few of you. Good. I thought no one of you would, so I printed some. And we'll give some to you shortly. We'll also stick some up on the wall over here. This should have been a big image, but for whatever reason it's decided not to work. So, this week, we're going to be starting on Monday today. We've got presentations all day. We've got Q Piglet this morning, and then an introductory session, which everyone will now have sent to Jessica. There's 1 minute introductory slides. I'm not sure where she is, over there, frantically putting together these last minute slides that people have sent in. Don't worry, if you haven't sent a slide, it's okay. You can do a spontaneous presentation of who you are, what your organisation is, and what they do relating to small wind turbines. So this is going to be a very tight session. We don't have much time for it, so it's going to be, everyone's got a number on their sticker. This number is the order in which you'll be presenting. So please take note of how many people have been up, and we'll be saying the numbers beforehand, and make sure that you're ready a few numbers before you, so that we can keep things moving around. We're already a little bit late today because of the strike, so really important to be on time for that one. Then we're off to lunch, and after lunch we've got the working group, the first working group presentations. So this will be technology working group and the the maintenance working group. So I'm going to talk a bit more about the working group structure in a bit, but I'm going to carry on past that for the moment. Tuesday is also working group presentations, and a small group session in the afternoon where we'll be getting together and sitting around the table and discussing about how we can work together in our working groups. This evening, we do have public lectures on, which are open to anyone here in Athens that wants to come and attend. So we'll have Aaron, Kostas and Jay talking about why electrify areas with a small wind, what's going on here in Athens, and the technical side of how you design, install and maintain small wind systems. So you're all welcome to attend a public session, and it will be in here straight after dinner. On Tuesday evening we have a board meeting. So this is for people that have been involved with organising wind empowerment and those who would like to be involved with organising wind empowerment. So it is an open board meeting. Anyone that would like to contribute, either their thoughts for this one meeting alone, or would like to become part of the organisational team of wind empowerment, should attend this meeting. That will be on Tuesday evening after dinner. We'll be going to the workshop, which is the free accommodation where some of us are staying, and then meeting up with the rest of the people for a drink in the area afterwards. So we will be deciding how we want to structure the executive board and the trustees of the newly registered charity during this meeting. We're deciding what positions are needed, and we'll be hoping to appoint people to these positions. So if you'd like to fill one of these positions, please come on Tuesday evening. Wednesday we have a field trip. The field trip is to the NTUA test site in Rafina, and we will be meeting here. The bus leaves at 9:30. So again, each day we'll be having breakfast in the cafeteria. We'll be meeting over there. We'll be collecting whenever you feel like arriving between 8 and 9, and there will be free breakfast provided there. And then we'll be coming over here together around 10 to 9 to start for 9 here. Wednesday evening, Wednesday afternoon, we have the poster and technology exhibition, which in fact will be going on all day whilst we'll be going around the test site. So those of you that are exhibiting posters, we've printed them all, assuming that you sent them to us, and they will be exhibited on Wednesday. Wednesday evening is free time, so Athens is a world famous city, and please get together with some of your colleagues and go and explore. Thursday we have some laboratory demonstrations and software tutorials. We'll be splitting down into smaller groups between here and the fluids lab. We also have a software tutorial from the Polytechnic University of Catalonia in the afternoon. And Matteo Renaboldo, would you like to just stand up so people can see who you are? Matteo will be installing some software on the laptops of people who have bought them. How many people have bought laptops with them? Great. How many people have Windows on their laptop? Okay, that's enough. So if you ever see Matteo during the week and he's looking like he's not doing anything, please go and badge him and say, please can you install the software on my machine. In the meantime, Matteo is going to be going around in these presentations, seeking out one person that he hasn't yet pestered and installing the software on their machine. There's also an Arduino IDE software that needs to be installed for the data logger workshop, so at the same time he'll be installing that one. And then this software obviously is free to use afterwards. Thursday afternoon, we've got small group sessions. So again, this is back into the working groups. And Thursday evening, we have a public session in the centre of Athens. So we have another distinguished speaker, Michelle Bowens from the Peer-to-Peer Foundation, we'll be talking about distributed energy for a fair and sustainable distributed economy and society. So this one will be something completely new, and anyone from here who is interested in seeing it, we will arrange for taxis to come here. They should have been in touch with you by email beforehand, and these people will be making sure your presentations work on the computer and will be coordinating the small group sessions throughout the week. So I'm going to go through each working group, and if the coordinators for that working group could stand up and introduce themselves as I put the slide up on here. So first of all, we've got the measurement working group. And Raphael Oliver over here. So these two guys will be talking about how we measure the wind resource and how we measure power production. Market assessment and delivery models. So we know small wind is a niche technology. How do we find out where it can work and how we can make it work on a social and economic level as well as a technical level? So Aaron Eels. And we have Zoe Ben. Education. We all know that the Piggott turbine is a great way of sharing knowledge about wind power, but exactly how do we do this? How do we transfer that knowledge from ourselves to the people that want to learn? So coordinating this group we have Jay, and we have Esther. Technology. So how do we make these machines more efficient? How do we adapt them to new uses? And how do we make machines better? We've got Kostas Latufis, who will be coordinating this group, and Luis Herrera. And finally, we've got the maintenance working group. This is the picture that was supposed to be here before, so who knows why it wasn't working. Mysteries of electronic equipment. Maintenance, we all know that small wind turbines are very troublesome pieces of equipment, but how do we create a system that is sustainable, where there's someone that can fix these machines, and how do we stop them from breaking in the first place? So coordinating this group, we have myself, and we have Gail. Okay, so without further ado then, I would like to stop talking and pass over to a much more distinguished speaker, Hugh Piggott. Jessica, where are you?
Here.
Do we have Hugh online?
Yes.
we do.
So Hugh, unfortunately, is not here with us today. He has decided that he does not want to travel outside of Scotland unless